Check out the brand new official Geekdom 101 merchandise store where you can get shirts, hoodies, iPhone cases, and all kinds of different merch, including our brand new t-shirt. Just came out, the Geekdom 101 Empowerment shirt. You can get that in various different colors and sizes, and it ships anywhere in the world. Become the emperor of your life. It's right there. It's a great design by World King Kanji. Thank you so much for 3.5 years of support. It means so much to me, and I love you all. Cine Columbia's plot synopsis for Dragon Ball Super Broly revealed some interesting new tidbits about the backstory of Broly. Now, the original idea behind this video was I was going to bring TR4G1C back on this, discussion to discuss the Planet Sadala arc that we already discussed several months ago, and how Vegeta's connection to Broly may lead to him going to Universe 6 to do some investigating, because we know that Kale obviously is similar to Broly, and there might be some kind of secret power within Kale. Who knows? But then our discussion, when we talked about it, kind of morphed into it being about King Vegeta and Paragus and the incredible backstory that Toriyama's writing, because even though I take issue with Bardock being changed like it was in Minus, from what we're reading, I'm really digging what Toriyama is doing with Paragus and King Vegeta and the new backstory of Broly. In this plot synopsis, there's nothing in there about Broly Broly being upset because Kakarot was crying. That's been deleted from the story. Toriyama took that out, and with good reason. It was good reason. It wasn't a very good idea to have Broly act that way. But this new backstory is sort of like a betrayal of sorts, and I really, really am digging it. So joining me to discuss this, please welcome him back. He was here for the Sadala arc, TR4, G1C, Tragic. Hello.
What's up? How we doing today?
I'm doing good, man. So the backstory, all right? The first thing I want to ask you is what I asked you before, which is, before we get to the backstory, after Dragon Ball Super Broly, I have this idea in my head that Vegeta, the events of Broly and finding out what actually happened, finding out that Vegeta's, being a super elite is not, he wasn't the strongest baby, Broly was, and then finding out that there's this super powerful Saiyan, I think that's going to be a catalyst for him going to Universe 6 and finally meeting the King of Sadala, because it was teased not once, not twice, but 3 times in Dragon Ball Super. Once in the Universe 6 arc and twice in the Tournament of Power, and we haven't got that arc yet, and I have a weird suspicion this could lead into Vegeta actually, it triggering him to go over there. What do you think about that?
I definitely agree. I think that's definitely going to be something that probably is going to definitely be touched upon, because, as far as the story's continuity is concerned, at the present moment, not, all the damn retcons and changes that has happened so far, knowing the fact that we now know, according to the Cine Columbia situation, Broly and Vegeta are actually born around this, literally around the same time. Kakarot's probably born way after that.
Or they're all born around maybe a couple years apart, because in the original story, Kakarot was 5 years younger, but now it looks like he might only be a couple of years younger. We'll see.
Right? Yeah, that part we really don't know about. But with that being said, I think this is going to be a really interesting, catalyst, you would say, as far as triggering Vegeta into really wanting to know more about himself and his place. And I think it makes a more intriguing story, because for such a long time he's been, walked around as the top Saiyan, the Saiyan with the most potential, the Saiyan that has
super elite,
the super elite. He is the guy. And the fact that Broly was sent off, and you got a Saiyan that really doesn't even know of this character, is going to be interesting, because of the simple fact that Vegeta has now met Kakarot, has realized that a low-class Saiyan, has, superseded him and all this other stuff. Now knowing, you're not even, number 2 anymore, or even number 1. You're basically number 3, or maybe even lower than that. I think it's gonna trigger him to really want to know more of his story, and I think it'll actually help fuse a lot of the the even deeper mystery of the Saiyan race and the connections with the other races that have already been introduced to us, like the Namekians and whatnot.
Yeah, and I will say this. To me, there's good retcons and bad retcons. I don't like the idea of every retcon being bad, right? Retroactive continuity is the creator going back and altering his original work or adding something to the work that, could contradict but doesn't always contradict. I feel like with Bardock, I'm not happy about it being Dragon Ball minus Bardock because I'm more of a fan of the original Bardock from Dragon Ball Z. We've discussed that in depth on my old Bardock versus new Bardock video. But this idea that Toriyama is now incorporating is adding layers of character development to King Vegeta and Paragus, because now in this story, King Vegeta is so egotistical and so paranoid of losing the Saiyan throne of his lineage, because obviously Prince Vegeta was supposed to eventually take over King Vegeta had Frieza not blown them all up. And the fact that he knew, based on what we know, that baby Broly was born with a higher power level with more latent potential, and he sent him away and lied to his people about who the strongest is just so he can keep his lineage holding the Saiyan throne, to me is absolutely incredible storytelling, and something that Toriyama, I think, is really bringing a positive sense of lore. Because now what we have from Paragus is, old Paragus was this kind of psychopath that wanted revenge on Vegeta for being exiled and sent to death. But in this version of the story, it's a different kind of exile, because now it's not that King Vegeta was afraid of Broly's power based on, of course, they could change it when the movie comes out. We haven't seen the movie yet, but it's more so the fact that he knew that Broly was stronger and he still sent him away. And you're not supposed to do that. And I love the idea of Paragus kind of being his right-hand man. That's his boy. And he's sending his boy son away when that's not supposed to happen with higher level Saiyans. You're not supposed to be sent away like that. Usually, from what we understand based on the old lore, if you are a elite or super elite, you get trained on planet Vegeta with somebody else. Of course, with Vegeta, it's Nappa. That's kind of what we've been hinted at in the past. You don't get sent away to other worlds unless you're a low-class Saiyan like Kakarot, and obviously in this case, Broly, but Broly's not low-class. Paragus in the trailer said, you're going to send my son away? And he talks about getting revenge, and he's so mad that King Vegeta could not swallow his pride, just like regular Vegeta. I love the connections here because he's a very prideful guy, that he sent the kid away. So really, Paragus has become a totally sympathetic character. And even though I don't think the sins of the father, I don't think Prince Vegeta deserves the revenge that Paragus is going to give him, I think it makes sense for that character to want to seek revenge. You know what I'm saying? I think it makes sense that he wants to get Broly, who's now become really strong based on everything we've seen, to essentially kill Vegeta. That's a good storyline. I mean, that's a good storyline, I feel. What do you think?
Originally, when we had this conversation, that's something that we definitely were talking about. To me, like I stated before, I feel like this is one of those situations that, like even in the Wakanda situation, right? When you have a
Black
tribe,
Panther.
Yeah, when you have a tribe going against a tribe, you seek to who the strongest one is. If you even go further back than that, like even older stories, that would connect us even more. Look at some of the Egyptian stories, or even like the story of Moses himself, where he's not even like the son of the heir, right? Of the king, the pharaoh. If you
adopted.
think, yeah, he's adopted, but he has, more power. He's more powerful, and he's basically sent off and stuff like that. It made me think of stuff like that because if you think about it, right, Broly is supposed to be, as far as the culture is concerned, would be the next guy in line.
Yeah, this is a class-based system in Planet Vegeta. I've gone into explicit detail on this in other videos. Check out the Prince of All Saiyans video I did, which I think is a criminally underrated video because I went really in-depth about Vegeta's character. It's class-based. You are judged by how strong you are. If you're weak, you are nothing. You're garbage. If you're strong, you are, treated like royalty. Broly should at the very least, maybe not rule over Planet Vegeta or, whatever, but he should at the very least be treated like an elite, and he's not. He he got tossed away like garbage. I can't even blame Paragus for being mad. Yeah. It's totally based on nepotism.
Yeah. And the interesting, like I said, the interesting thing about the whole development of the story is this is like your right hand man. Like he is like, as far as the governing military, because this is not just like a regular tribe. This is a military government. Like if you think of it like that, this is a base military government. This is the guy who's walking side by side with you through all these, conquests and stuff like that.
You're talking about Paragus.
Yeah,
right?
Paragus. Right. Yeah. And he's the guy who's walking side by side, knows the decisions you're going to be making, probably is the guy who's having the conversations just like we're having right now, just basic conversations and talking about different things of how to, better the society, you would say. And you literally grab his son and toss him away like trash because you want to hold the throne longer, and that's really interesting. That's something that really hasn't been touched up on before. And if you look at the movie when it was originally done, it was something that kind of made you think like, man, there's something really missing as far as the story, the original Broly movie. There's something missing. I mean, the fact that Broly's connection with Goku is something about power kind of made sense at that point, but it was not. It didn't make adequate sense because it was not relating to the original connection between King Vegeta and Paragus. And that to me, the reasoning for Paragus seeking out Vegeta. We kind of lost that in the original movie. Now it makes more sense because now we see the direct connection between.
Personal now.
Yeah, we see the direct connection between Paragus and King Vegeta and why that revenge is seeked out so much.
Well, somebody was asking me. They were like, "Well, why didn't he try to kill Baby Broly?" Which again, that's what happened in the original movie. He tried to kill Baby Broly. It was too dangerous. I think. To me, like my response to that is it could be a couple factors. Number one, Frieza may have been involved, and maybe Frieza was like, "No, don't kill him, send him away, and maybe later on we could do something with him. Don't worry about him." That could
play out. That could play out.
Yeah, or maybe King Vegeta just didn't believe that Broly was strong enough for it to matter. Like maybe he sent him away, thinking, well. I'm going to send this guy off and I don't have to worry about him ever again. And maybe if he comes back, by then he'll probably die as a kid or starve on some planet and we're good. Mm-hmm. I just think that, in my opinion, Paragus has a legit beef with Vegeta in both versions. I think in this version it feels more authentic because Paragus went away with Broly. They were stranded on this planet for a long time. 41 years is what it said in the summary.
Right.
And the idea that I love the idea that Goku is guilty by association. Kakarot didn't do anything wrong, bro. Goku did nothing wrong in this version of the story. The beef is with Vegeta. Goku, just because he's friends with Vegeta, I guess, is guilty by association based on everything I see. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's no longer a Broly-Goku beef. Unless something happens in the movie, that's not the backstory they're telling us.
Now, the interesting part of what you just said right here is basically this, and if you think of it like this, the fact that you're guilty by association would almost be like a wanting, not just of a complete genocide of the past race, because obviously we do know that Nappa's not around. We don't know if Paragus knows that there's other Saiyans that didn't make it back to Planet Vegeta, which actually plays an integral part in this.
Actually, I was going to say, because you brought this up with last time we talked about this, Paragus probably doesn't even know Planet Vegeta got destroyed by Frieza.
Correct, and that's another. Broly. Yeah, correct, and that's another situation that plays out because now, if I was Paragus and I wanted revenge on Vegeta, Vegeta's lineage, you would say, I would want to definitely decimate and take out anything that was part of that culture, that line, that existence, because I feel you just basically took my son out because he was the lowest class Saiyan. Now that I've sat here and built him up to being this strong, powerful Saiyan and stuff like that, we can thrive on something new. Now, what's interesting is that this does play, that can actually be used, that type of mentality can be used to melt something further along, because remember, he is at the edge of the galaxy. So if he's at the edge of the galaxy, he technically would be at the edge of the universe, which would mean that if he finds out that there is a universe, quote unquote, 6 Saiyans, he can go and start a new race or a new society of Saiyans based on the new ideals.
So you're thinking that what could end up happening is, obviously, I don't think Paragus will survive this movie, but you're saying
Right.
if he survives, if he finds out about Universe 6, he can try and take over that universe.
Right, and start all over.
And start a new Saiyan, like a new Saiyan. Yeah, that's actually that would actually be a good storyline if this movie was longer.
And to me, that actually would make sense, because if you kind of think of it, remember in the original movie, the line that Paragus is like, oh, I want to recreate the Saiyan society,
new Vegeta,
right?
Yeah.
He wanted to recreate that line. Can actually be kind of played very well and would make sense, because at the end of the movie he's like, I don't really care, and he wants to just take off, type of thing. You know what I mean? It's like he just wants Vegeta destroyed, even at the cost of his own son, who's massively powerful. I didn't really like the way that was played out, but the way that this is kind of playing out, it would make sense for him to want to survive, have his son survive, and the fact that there could be a possibility of connection of going to, oh, there's more Saiyans out there. Well, we can, they don't know nothing about what originally happened. I can play the story. Now we can have a powerful Saiyan who can be king, and I can rule right next to him. That story to me plays a little bit more interesting if you kind of think about it right now.
Yeah, Vegeta's entire identity originally, before he obviously got married and had kids, was that he was the super elite, and he didn't understand why Kakarot was surpassing him, even though he wasn't a super elite. He was a low-class warrior. Now with this story, we have Broly, who, for all intents and purposes, based on what we read, and again, this is what we read, we'll see how the movie plays this out, he was born a super elite with even more potential than Vegeta, and he got sent away as if he was a low-class warrior. So maybe he's going to start to question, maybe the numbers were wrong, or maybe King Vegeta, maybe Goku wasn't born with a low class. Maybe they lied. I mean, that could be another thing. It could be a whole conspiracy where King Vegeta was trying to suppress everybody but his own son. You know what I mean?
Could be.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments section. One last thing before we go. Let us know in the comments what you think about this awesome new backstory. I mean, I love it personally. Again, not a fan of Bardock, but I like what they're doing with King Vegeta and with Paragus. I think it adds layers to those characters, makes them more interesting, and I hope we see it play out. But, so do you think that, obviously I think Broly and Paragus will not make it out of this movie, but I still believe that Vegeta could go to Universe 6 after the movie, and this is what's going to trigger him to finally see the King of Sadala, and maybe something with Kale. I mean, there could be a possibility where at some point in the future, Kale could end up being as strong as Broly and possibly a threat. If she loses control.
Mm-hmm. Interesting stuff.
I'm just saying it's a possibility. But again, she did gain control of herself during the Tournament of Power, but I don't think she's as strong as Broly is in this movie. I don't see that at all. So this Broly is an animal. So check out Tragic, TR4G1C, and we'll talk to you soon.